Say, I was talking about the thesis writing, and I've already given you some of the important points with respect to the top page, the inner page, the content page. And in content page, I have given the different main headings of chapter number 1. I hope you might have been able to get it. Now I'm just taking one small example for you. So 1.1, how will you write? I will tell you 1.2, 1.3 and 1.4 or maybe 1.5. All these will depend upon your own research problem. 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, maybe 1.6, which will form the basics, the fundamentals of your research. Without reading this, you will not be able to understand and appreciate the research conducted by the person whose thesis you are reading. So therefore, it's very important that you must know the theoretical framework very well. Under theoretical framework, here I have given 1.20, 1.30, and 1.40 as the main headings. Well, it's up to you whether you want to write 1, you want to write 2, or you want to write 3. That all depends upon you. But after that, then it will be the rationale. See, I was going through large number of theses uploaded in the Shodh Ganga. I found a very strange thing that in the thesis, the objectives were written before writing the rationale. How can you, I don't understand, how can one write the objectives and the statement of the problem before mentioning why and how this particular research was done? Why this research was undertaken? That should be explained first before you give even the statement of the problem as well as the objectives of the research. But unfortunately, large number of the theses I came across that these two things were not given after the rationale, after the significance of the problem. Another thing I observed was that in many of the theses, they had written rationale as well as the significance. Now, it indicates that the researchers do not understand the difference between rationale and the significance of the problem. And the third thing I found was that in many of the theses, the rationale or significance of the problem was written on point number 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. It was not written in the paragraph. My dear friend, these are very, very, very important points I'm trying to bring to your kind notice. When you are writing the rationale, it has to be in the paragraph form. It cannot be in the points. Okay, so therefore, the 1.1 will be as it is, 1.2, 1.3, 1.40, you can decide. And after that, it's the rationale. You should not write both rationale as a heading and significance of the study as a heading. Only one will be enough because the meaning will be the same. and next will be the statement of the problem, and next objectives, hypothesis, and delimitations. In qualitative researches, you will not have any hypothesis. So no need of writing hypothesis. But if you are conducting a quantitative research, then you have to have a hypothesis. Okay? And then delimitation. So let me give you the more details of the chapter number 1. And you should understand this. The topic of this particular research was a study of effect of concept attainment model on achievement in Hindi. So now this will be your chapter number 1. And below this, you should write introduction. And now you should write 1.1.0 introduction. Now this particular introduction, whenever the reader is reading, he must understand that in this chapter, the information is given related to what aspects of this research. So you should say that because it is concept attainment model, then you can say this research was, because this has already been completed and now you are writing the report. So it has to be in the past tense. Some of the information in this chapter will be in the present tense, but some majority of the information will be in the past tense. You should understand that. This research was related to, this research belonged to models of teaching. It was related to concept attainment model. The information is given. Now here I am saying is, it is in the present tense, is given under headings now. Here I have already written the headings. You can see it. It is the present status of teaching Hindi, then models of teaching, then concept attainment model. Present status of teaching of Hindi, models of teaching, and then concept attainment, and concept attainment model of teaching, then rationale, then statement of problem, then objectives, then hypothesis, and delimitation. Dear friends, I found from the Shodh Ganga that in many of the theses, they have written limitations as well as delimitation. Now, it automatically reflects that the researcher does not have the understanding. It doesn't understand the meaning of limitation and the meaning of delimitation. When you are writing the delimitation, it automatically includes limitation. Now, when you are writing the limitations, it does not include delimitation. So therefore, in a research, there is no need of writing both limitations as well as delimitations. You should only write the delimitation. Okay. Now, the information is given under headings like this in different captions to follow. No, Bahadur, introduction is not repetition. Introduction of the chapter is very different from introduction as a caption. So it is not repetition. You can't say background. Background is very different. Background comes as I am writing, that when you are talking about the present status of teaching of Hindi, this is the background. When you are talking about the models of teaching, this is the background. So you should understand the difference between introduction and background. And in each chapter, the first caption will be introduction. As I told you the other day, the main purpose of the introduction is to connect the present chapter with the previous chapter. Number two, when you read it, you come to know what all information is being given and under what heads. So these are the things which you know from the introduction. So introduction will save a lot of time. Okay. So therefore, it's very, very important. So I can read your introduction and then I can decide whether I should read the complete chapter or should I read from a particular caption number, because these headings are in a particular sequence. So introduction saves a lot of time of the reader. Now, after that, it is 1.2.0. Now here it will be the present status. Present status of teaching Hindi. Now this has to be written by you as a researcher, that how Hindi is being taught. Hindi, during teaching Hindi, what all information you will be giving to the people, and so on and so forth. So this I'm not writing because I cannot write the thesis for you here. I'm just explaining. Next will be models of teaching. So you can talk about what is a model of teaching, what are the various families of the models of teaching, and then the concept attainment belongs to which family, and why the concept attainment model was chosen for this particular research. So this will come under 1.3.0. 1.4.0 will be the concept attainment model. Here you have to talk about some theoretical aspect of the concept attainment model. The syntax you have to give, and you have to explain some of the salient feature of it. Many a times in the interview, people ask, can you give example of a concept? And my experience is a very, very bad experience. The people who have got 80–90% marks fail to give me even a single example of a concept. Whereas there cannot be any subject without concept. And it is a normal reason which the teacher gives to the parents. If the parents ask the teacher that why the performance of my child is weak, it's so poor performance, the teacher just says his concepts are not clear. What is the meaning? If his concepts are not clear, who is responsible? It's not the student. If the teacher is responsible, that means teacher doesn't know how exactly a concept has to be taught. So therefore, these are some of the things, which you should try to understand. And then the concept attainment model, when you are talking of, then you have to give the theoretical, which is given by Bruce, Joyce, and Marshavell. Now then, 1.5.0 will be the rationale. Now here, you should write, I'm giving in the bracket, you should write 2-3 paragraphs about why the teaching of concept is important. Why teaching of concept is important. You may write 2 paragraphs, you may write 3 paragraphs. If you want, you can also say that different methods of teaching concepts. If by chance, if you know that, so that in this para, you are trying to focus on the word concept. And then what you should do is that the researches which were conducted related to the concept attainment model or related to teaching of concepts, that you will be writing in chapter number 2. So from the chapter number 2, you have to get the gist. You have to get the summary, the gist. Bahadur, let me first complete. Bahadur, I have not completed. You just have a wait. So there might have been researches. So now you can, in the rationale, you can write here that and what now I will write here is this I'm taking from review of related literature, which will be the next chapter. But the gist of that is to be written here. Now, if you do not want to write a second chapter on the review of related literature, then that review of related literature should come before you write your rationale. Now, why do we write a separate chapter for the review of the related literature? Because you have a lot of information to be written. So it cannot be written in 4 pages or 5 pages. And if you make that a part and parcel of chapter number 1, then the length of the chapter number 1 will be maybe 80 pages or maybe 70 pages or 90 pages. So therefore, in order to keep the pages of the chapter number 1, the particular limit, so that it's not a very lengthy chapter, that this part is taken out from this chapter and it is written in the second chapter, review of related literature. But if you do not have many researches to cite, then you can write the review of related literature in chapter number 1, no problem at all. And how will you write? That I will tell you when I am talking about the second chapter. So now I was talking about here that from second chapter, you can take the gist and you can see that researches have been conducted related to concept attainment model. And then you say Sharma, (2000). Now you arrange it in the ascending order, not the descending order. I have found these days in some of the thesis, the second chapter is written in the descending order. My dear friend, if you have to find the trend, then descending order will not give you the trend. You will get that trend when you put it in the ascending order. So you can say Sharma 2000. I'm just writing like that. Mathur 2004. and Goyal 2006. Found that concept attainment model was effective, was significantly effective in teaching English concepts, was found to be significantly effective in comparison to lecture method for teaching concepts, for teaching English concepts. Because concepts are there in different subjects, and there might have been researches related to the different subjects. So wherever the concepts were taught using concept attainment model, you can report them here. Then here you can say the concept attainment model was found to be effective in teaching mathematics concepts. And in the bracket, you can write the name of the people. Paul, Sharma, Mohan and Gandhi, and Pasi, 2009. So you have given the finding, and then in the bracket you have given the last name of the person and the year in which the paper was published. So when I say Paul, is the last name of the person, and in 1999, this paper was published. It was the year of publication. Then Sharma and his paper was published on 2003. And in these one, they did some research related to the mathematics concepts, then maybe that concept attainment model and lecture method were found to be equally effective in teaching concepts of Hindi. And now here you write the name of those people. Let's say I'm just writing Malhotra, 1989, Rathor, 2000, Mohan and Puri. Two 2001 and Jane 2004. So like this, these are the things which you have to take it out from your chapter number 2. Now, once you write this, now you can say now from here, it is evident that if you want, you can write a separate line. Now it is evident that the teaching of concepts is very important. And concept attainment model has been used in teaching concepts from English, mathematics, and Hindi. the researches conducted are very less. So there is a researches conducted, or you can say from here it may be from here it is evident that not many researches have been carried out where Hindi concepts were taught with the help of concept attainment model. Now, keeping the less number of researches and potential of concept attainment model, keeping in mind the less number of researches and the potential of teaching Hindi concepts with the help of concept attainment model. This study was undertaken. Although it's not a very good one, but anyway, something like this you should write. And this rationale, you need not to limit it to the 1 page, 2 page, or 3 page. Take as much space required, but do not give information which is not relevant. And this portion will improve the quality of your thesis. Okay? So therefore, please try to understand and try to be very careful when you are writing the rationale of your research. Because majority of the researchers will be reading the rationale. And if your rationale is very strong, then you have a plus point for your thesis. But if your rationale is not very strong, then naturally your thesis is not very strong then. That means the work which you have done is not of too much use. So that's what you have to do. Now, once you have written and here I have written, so Bahadur, here now you can see here, I'm putting the red one for you. Keeping in mind the less number of researches and the potential of teaching Hindi concepts with the help of concept attainment model, this study was undertaken. Now this should come towards the end of the rationale. Because whatever information you are giving before that, on the basis of that only you will be able to write what I have put in red mark. So this red mark portion is very, very, very important. And of course, this cannot be written without taking into cognizance what you have written in this particular one before these statements. Now, once you have done this, then after that, now you have to write the statement of the problem. So if this was your 1.5.0, then 1.6.0 will be statement of the problem. My dear friends, I have seen in the Shodh Ganga, the thesis, that they have written the statement of the problem in paragraph, and something like 2 or 3 pages they have written. I do not understand when the caption heading is statement of the problem, then you cannot write paragraphs and paragraphs. You cannot write pages and pages. But anyway, the people have written and the examiners seems to have approved. So that is what is important. So my dear friend, if your teacher wants you to write paragraph, please write. Do not disobey your teacher. So if he says that you have to write, then you should write. But according to me, you should not write paragraphs. You should not write pages and pages. You just say the problem was worded as given below. That's all. And when you are writing, it's exactly the same which you have written at the top of it. You have written a study of effect of concept attainment model. So it's exactly the same. Now, if you want, you can please be careful. Do not put a full stop. I have seen many people, they have put a full stop. And you cannot write like this. You cannot write study of effect. Why? Because then study is a verb. And a title cannot have a verb. So therefore you have to write a study. Please understand, because I have seen in many of the titles, they start with study. And that indicates very clearly that the guy doesn't understand English. Of course, examiners also do not understand English. So therefore, you cannot write study. You have to write a study. And do not put a full stop here. If you want to put inverted commas, well, that's up to you. I call them cosmetic. If you want, you can do it. Now, 1.7.0 will be your objectives. Now, these objectives, my dear friend, you must have written your proposal. And this proposal was approved by the members of the committee, which is called RDC, Research Degree Committee. Now, it is quite possible that when you were conducting the research, you might have modified some of your objectives. So therefore, here you can write those modified objectives, no problem at all. Because the objectives which you wrote in the proposal, it was a proposal. That will you are proposing, but you can change also. So you can say the following were the objectives. And now here you have to write the objectives. Now it all depends upon you what type of objectives you have written. I may write something like this to compare adjusted mean scores of achievement in Hindi, achievement in Hindi of students belonging to concept attainment group and lecture method group. By considering their pre-achievement in Hindi as a covariate. This may be one of the objectives. Another objective might be to compare adjusted mean scores of achievement in Hindi of students belonging to concept attainment group and lecture method group by considering their pre-achievement in Hindi and vocabulary as covariates and vocabulary in Hindi as covariates. I can take two covariates. I may have another objective because it was an experimental study. So I can say to study the effect of yes, Bahadur, you are writing the thesis for the work which you have already done. Now, once you attend this webinar, then you have to say, I was attending the webinar or I attended the webinar. It has to be in the past tense, not in the present tense. The following were the objectives. I cannot say are the objectives because I have already completed. So you should understand when to use the word, when to use the present tense and when to use the past tense. To study the effect of teaching strategy, gender, and their interaction on achievement in Hindi, to study the effect of teaching strategy, gender, and their interaction on achievement in Hindi of students by considering their pre-achievement in Hindi and vocabulary in Hindi as covariates. I can write another that to study the effect. I'm writing the word effect because it was an experimental study. If it would have been a survey study, then I would not have written the word effect. I would have written the word influence. So that is important, dear friends. You should understand that. So to study the effect of teaching strategy, teaching experience, and their interaction. Because when I say teaching experience, naturally it has to be of the teacher. or let's not write teaching experience, I'll say teaching strategy and say locale and their interaction on achievement in Hindi of students by considering their pre-achievement in Hindi and vocabulary in Hindi as covariates. So like this I can write. And the hypothesis will be, so next is 1.8.0. Hypothesis. The following were the hypotheses. The following hypotheses were formulated. Now you can copy your objectives and you can make changes in the objectives so that it becomes the hypothesis. You have to make changes. The changes are, there is no significant difference. There is no significant difference in adjusted mean scores of achievement in Hindi of students belonging to concept attainment. Oh, I should write model. Concept attainment model. This was concept attainment model and concept attainment model group. So there is no significant difference in adjusted mean scores of achievement in Hindi of students belonging to concept attainment model group and lecture method group by considering their pre-achievement in Hindi as covariate. Now, the same thing you should write here. You can copy this portion and you can paste it here. That there is no significant difference in adjusted mean. Please see, adjusted mean you have to write. Why? Because here I am proposing, I have analyzed the data with the help of analysis of covariance. So that is why you have to write this. So you should know when to write adjusted mean and when to write only mean. Then another is, there is no significant. There is no significant effect of teaching strategy, gender, and their interaction on achievement in Hindi of students by considering their pre-achievement in Hindi and vocabulary in Hindi as covariates. And another is there is no significant effect of teaching strategy, locale, and their interaction on achievement in Hindi of student by considering their pre-achievement in Hindi and vocabulary as in Hindi as covariance. If you want to write more, you can write more. The choice is yours. So this is how you should write. Now, next is 1 point will be the delimitation. 1.9.0. It is delimitation. So now do not write limitations as well as delimitations. Another point I should tell you, in many of the theses, I have seen that the researchers have written objectives as well as research questions. I repeat, in many of the theses, the researchers have written objectives as well as the research questions. That is technically incorrect. Why? Because if you see the objectives and research questions, in many of the theses, they are the same. But wherever they are not the same, then whether the researcher followed the objectives or the researcher followed the research questions. Because when you see the results, from there you come to know that the researcher did not follow the research questions. Because the results were written according to the objectives. So you have to be very, very careful. You can't write objectives as well as research questions in the one thesis. Number one, no need of writing. Why? Because your objectives and research questions cannot be different. Another point I noticed was that some people have written research questions in place of hypothesis. That means neither the guide understands hypothesis nor the researcher. Because hypothesis is not a question. Hypothesis is the tentative solution of the problem. And research question is not a solution. So how can you write research question in place of hypothesis? Because the both concepts are different. So please be careful when you are deciding which caption heading to write and which caption heading not to write. So now here you have to write the limitations. The following were the limitations of this study. Now you can say that this study was or you say in this study only Hindi concepts from class, let's say, what did I write in the class 7? In that title, I have written the class 7. So we say that in this study, only Hindi concept from class 7 were taken. The Hindi concepts were from now that you have to see whether you have taken Hindi concept from poet, from prose, poetry, or only grammar. So whatever that you can write. Then you can say that only 10 concepts or 20 concepts were taken up for the study. Only 20 Hindi concepts were taken up for the study. Now, if you want, whether I wrote the government or government school or what I did write, let me see. Okay, it was the government senior secondary schools of Delhi. So if you want, you can write the syllabus, the class 7th syllabus prescribed by the CBSE was taken into consideration or something like this. So that completes the chapter number 1. Now you have to go to the chapter number 2. And now your chapter number 2 is review of related literature. My dear friend, if you go to the Shodh Ganga, in large number of the theses, they have written review of literature. This is a technically wrong. Why? If I consider Hindi, I cannot take the researches related to the different aspects of Hindi. I may take English also, because here it says review of literature. But I must write related. Related means only from the Hindi. I cannot take from any other one, and I have to take only related to concepts. So once I say related, that means concepts. I cannot take anything else. I cannot take the reasoning aspect. So therefore, that's what is important. So that's what you should write, the word related. Then it has to be 2.1.0, introduction. Now you see this, how will I write this introduction? I will connect this second chapter with the first chapter, and I'll say the rationale along with the objectives and hypothesis have been given in the previous chapter. So I say rational. I have written rational. The objectives I have written. The hypothesis I have written. This chapter is devoted to the researches related to the present study. Related to the teaching of concepts. The researches have been given under caption headings like comparison of concept attainment model, comparison of concept attainment model, and lecture method, comparison of concept attainment model and lecture method, then you can say teaching strategy and gender, then you can say teaching strategy and locate. My dear friend, research is always limited. Say when you go to attend a marriage party, you see the variety of dishes. Do you eat everything? No. You limit it yourself. So you are delimiting. The family has given variety. They could have given more also, but they have given some limited. And from the limited, you are again limiting for yourself. So you are delimiting it. You have got 100 of shirts. You do not wear all 100 at a time. You delimit it. That I am going to attend the party, so I will wear these. I am going to my office, I will wear this. So there is a difference in limitation and the delimitation. There is always limitation. It is not, you may have 100 shirts. Somebody else might have 1,000 shirts. Somebody might have 20 shirts. So there is a limit. I cannot have more than 5 shirts. So that my limit is 5. But from that limit also I am delimiting, because I can't wear everything at the same point of time. So there is a difference between limitation and delimitation. Mr. Sao, you should understand that. So the researches have been given under caption heading like and this and this and this. In separate captions. Now, your one caption can be is your comparison of concept attainment, modern and lecture method. Comparison of concept attainment model and lecture method. Now, my dear friend, when you write the caption heading should not go up to the width of the paper. You have to break in between. Because if you do not break in between, then it will be difficult for the reader to differentiate between the text and the heading. So it is important that you must differentiate. Then you should say, now you might have, from the review of the related literature, you might have found the different researches. And whatever the researches that you have found, I have written something in chapter number 1 under rational. Let us see, what did I write? I wrote something like this. These are the names I wrote. So these I have taken, and then you can take this also. And let us take this also. and this also over there. So let us take this also. And let us see how many are these studies. So it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Then you can say that 11 researches. 11 researches were found to be related to comparison of concept attainment model and lecture method. These were by Sharma, etc., etc. Now there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, 11. So there should be 11 paragraphs. So you should write that Sharma (2000) compared concept attainment model and lecture method on the basis of understanding of whether I wrote physics or what did I write here? English. So that Sharma compared concept attainment model and lecture method on the basis of understanding of English concepts. The objective was to compare mean scores of achievement in English concepts of students taught through concept attainment model and lecture method. Now, this is the objective which I have taken from the paper published by Sharma 2000. In the paper, he might have written two objectives, but I have only taken one which was related to my research. And that is why the word is related. So I should not write anything here which is not related. So therefore, I have written, now I should write the hypothesis that it was, the hypothesis was that there is no significant, there were no significant difference in mean scores of achievement in English, concept of students taught through concept attainment model and lecture method. Now, so I have written here objective, I have written here hypothesis. Now I must write the sample. This study was conducted on 305 class 5th students of government senior secondary schools of Jaipur. This study was conducted on 305 students this study was conducted on this student. The sample was selected with the help of, was selected using stratified random sampling. So you can write at the most the 2 sentences, but you cannot write, yes, it's the Sharmas. All the information I am writing, this is related to the Sharma only, Sharma 2000. And all these information I am getting from the paper written by Sharma. I'm not writing at my own. But these are the information which you have to take from the paper of the Sharma. Now, once you have written this, then you can see so it's not one. You have to see that whatever the chapter you are writing, it is related. If there are two objectives which are related, then you should write them in appropriate caption. Here the caption is that comparison of concept attainment, modern and lecture method. Now there cannot be the two objectives related to this by the same person. It is not possible. So there can be only one and only one objective related to this by one particular researcher. So you cannot have two objectives of the same researcher on the same topic. Might be so that's what you have to understand. Now, once you have written the sample, then you should write, my dear friend, the tool. And that you have to find out which tool was. So maybe you can say achievement in English. Achievement in English concept test was developed by the researcher. So you have written the sample, then you have written the tool, name of the tool, not more than that. Now it was an experimental study. Now you should write the experimental study. Non-equivalent control group design was the followed. So the name of the design you will find out from the paper only. And then you can say the treatment continued for 20 working days at the rate of 45 minutes per day. Now, from here to here is related to your experiment, name of the experimental design and the treatment duration. And then you say the data were analyzed with the help of whatever is the statistical technique. So you just write the name of the stat and then you say the finding was that concept attainment model and was found to be superior to lecture method was found to be superior to lecture method was found to be superior to lecture method on the basis of achievement in English. So one paragraph you have to write like this. So if there are 10 researches you have cited, there must be 10 paragraphs. Now, once you write this, then you have to take the next one. So here you have written 1, 2, 3, 4, some 12 you have written here. So there must be 12 paragraphs. Now, once you have done this, then next will be that we have to write another one. Then you have to write another one. And another one will be, you see, you have written here comparison of content lecture method, then teaching strategy and gender. Then next 2.3.0 will be teaching strategy and gender. So 2.3.0 will be teaching strategy and gender. And then you have to write the way I have done it, 2.2.0, that so many researches were conducted. And then 2.4.0 will be teaching strategy and locate. And once you have done this, then your 2.5.0 will be gist. Or you can say sum up. And sum up is very important. This I will explain you tomorrow. My dear friend, I will see if I cannot complete it tomorrow, then I will take one more day. So tomorrow may not be the last day. Day after tomorrow may be the last day. And after this, if some of you are interested in attending my another 15 days webinar on basics of research or fundamentals of research, then you can join. There I will teach you everything, how to write title, how to write objective, what are the different types of the variables, what are the different methods of sampling, etc., tools, everything I will tell. So if you are interested, you can be in contact with Dr. Gupta. He will tell you. And so see you tomorrow. Then I will definitely complete this first and then go to the next one, third chapter. So thank you very much. See you tomorrow.